All right, back for another beer review, and today I will once again be reviewing a beer from the Perrin Brewing Company, and they're out of Comstock Park, Michigan, and this is their unfinished business. So they're calling this a Japanese Emperor Stout aged in single malt bourbon barrels, basically an Imperial Stout that is aged in single malt bourbon barrels. Comes in at 13.1% alcohol by volume, 35 IBUs. And at the time of review, I don't know exactly how old this beer is, but this beer was sent to me by a good friend of mine and a viewer of the channel, Jeff, aka NoJinx, in a recent beer mail. I'll post a link in the description box to the beer mail unboxing video I did that contained this beer and many others. But because Jeff sent it my way, I think he mentioned at some point that this was released in November of 2017. If that is the case, and I'd appreciate it if you would let me know in the comment section, Jeff, if that is indeed the truth, if that's fact, then that would make this beer about just over a year and a half old. So we're talking about an aged beer here. Jeff sent it my way now. I have seen some of my friends drink this one over the last couple of years. And the most recent person on my Untapped friends list that checked this one in was a good friend of mine and another viewer of the channel, Sadiq. And Jeff actually sent this beer to him, and he actually did not enjoy it. He said it kind of tasted like, I believe he said it was a Scotch ale, very thin, no bourbon component. And Jeff was like, man, if I knew you weren't going to like it, I wouldn't send it your way. So I assume that Jeff has enjoyed this one in the past. So I'm going to see how I feel about this one, but a Japanese Emperor Stout. They actually say on this side here, we'll read a little bit. It says, as we continue to push the outer boundaries of stylistic freedom, our brewers continue to swing the sword with our own version of Japanese Emperor Stout, hand-picking 10 specialty malts, the finest flaked oats, golden wheat, and Japanese rice give the body of this beer a silky smooth and clean mouthfeel. Then they talk about how they actually got some a small batch of barrels from an award-winning bourbon distillery out of Washington. And then they talk about like tasting notes and stuff that I'm not going to mention. But yeah, interesting. Single malt bourbon barrels, huge, 13.1% Imperial Stout. This had crazy thick wax. I kind of, pre-cut it. Hopefully I can get into this one. Let's see if we can. Yeah, we did it. We did it. I did it. So happy. Yeah, I always pre-cut it because, you never know with these. I could be sitting here for 20 minutes. Matt over Massive Beer Reviews would be like, do it, man. No big deal. Makes it more fun to watch. I can't disagree with him. It does. But at the same time, I don't want my videos to be 30 minutes long because they're already long enough as is. So anyway, I'm going to try to hopefully not pour any of this into any of the wax in, but we'll see. Yeah, I think we'll be all right here. We'll go like that. I don't want to get crazy. It's 13.1. Fucking get crazy over here. Let's not get crazy, Joe. Just settle down. Anyway, I keep on a couple of videos I did this where I'm just like pushing. This tablecloth is crazy. I don't know. It has a mind of its own. Anyway, yeah. That looks, as it poured out, it didn't pour out super like, viscous or whatever. But yeah, there's some condensation on this one. This was in the fridge. I forgot why I put it in the fridge. Oh yeah, it's because it's like 70, almost 75 down here. So put it in the fridge. And yeah, it's been out of the fridge for well over an hour, so we're probably talking 65, 70 range anyway. So why did I put it in the fridge? I have no idea. Anyway, that pours out this really deep, dark, that's almost pitch black. Had about a finger of this really nice, straight up tan colored head that has dissipated into a thin film. Look kind of creamy. If I can swirl a head back up here, you'll see. Yeah, it looks relatively creamy. Anyway, let's get a nose on it. For 13.1%, this does not have the aromatics that I expected out of a beer that big. I can see now I haven't tasted this yet. I haven't had this beer, but I can see what Sadiq's saying about the Scotch ale. I'm getting more like caramel, toffee, almost like dark fruity components in here. A little bit of smokiness. The bourbon is there, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's bourbon. It's just like a generic spirit that's there on the nose. It doesn't smell intense. This doesn't smell like a huge big bourbon barrel-aged beer. It smells like there is some kind of spirit in here, but very subtle and minute. A little bit of chocolate and vanilla as well. I will say this. This is one of the most subtle, small, just like not really impactful 13.1% beers I've ever smelled in my life. It's very subtle. And again, it's not cold. It's, like I said, probably around 65, 70. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm disappointed by the nose because there's nothing to be disappointed by in terms of like the characteristics themselves. It's just very subtle, and I thought it would be like a huge blast of bourbon or a huge blast of like roasty, toasty, charred, almost like just huge Imperial Stout vibes, right? Not really. Just smells good. It just smells very subtle. So anyway, let's get into it. Thank you once again, Jeff. Cheers to everyone. That's actually really tasty. I cannot believe for a second that this is 13.1%. Holy shit, this is not 13.1%, right? Right? Maybe, right? I don't know. No, there's a slight alcohol stringency on my palate, a little bit in the chest. I wouldn't guess this is anywhere close to 13.1. So if I had to guess this blind, maybe 10, maybe 9. Wow, this is a very dangerous beer. Now here's what I'll say about the taste. I totally 100% see what Sadiq is saying about this one. It is, man, this is like the least impactful 13.1% beer I've ever had. The least just, I'm looking for an oomph when the beer hits like a certain percentage. I feel like 12 and above, I gotta be smacked in the face with flavor, right? Like that, I just gotta be punched in the face with flavor. And this one's not punching me in the face whatsoever. First thing I can say, body, 13.1%, it is thin. Is it substantially thin? Yeah, it actually is. This is like medium body. Really, this is 13.1%. It's like medium, maybe a touch over medium. This is really thin. Somebody like Paul over at PA Brew News would just be like, it's a bit thin, although it's actually crazy thin for me. I really do enjoy the mouthfeel though. Not sure if it's because it sat for a year and a half. I'm not sure it's just because it was in the barrel period, but really soft, smooth, and relatively creamy as well. It's not undercarbonated. It's actually perfect for like a huge barrel-aged beer. It's just so soft and smooth and creamy. So I'm not going to say I can forgive the thinness of this beer, but what I will say is that the mouthfeel makes up a little bit for the thinness of this beer. So the body, definitely thin. The mouthfeel, fucking great. So kind of offsets a little bit. The taste of this beer, kind of what I was getting the nose. There's a lot of caramel and toffee. There's a lot of, Sadiq said Scotch ale, wee heavy, and I can see where he's coming from. This actually has a nice like roastiness, chocolate component, caramel, toffee, a little bit of dark fruit. Definitely vanilla, and I do get a little bit of the spirit. But for something that is 13.1% aged in barrels, it just doesn't have the intensity that I'm looking for. Super easy to drink, which is scary at 13.1%. But the flavors here are nice. Like I mentioned, whatever, 6, 7 different flavors. They're so subtle though, like I'm reaching to pull those out. Really, this is caramel, toffee, and a little bit of dark fruit, touch of vanilla, and the spirit itself. This finishes to the sweeter side of things. I think you would expect that from a 13.1% beer. It's going to be sweeter. There's a little bit of dryness, really no bitterness to speak of. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember what Sadiq gave it on Untappd or what he like his final thoughts were. I don't know what Jeff thinks about this one. If Jeff usually sends me a beer, there's 1 or 2 reasons to send me a beer. A, because he loves it and he wants me to try it. Or B, he might be in the minority when it comes to what he feels about a beer, so he's going to send it to me and see what I think about it. Like the whatever the Old Nation was, the Woodshed, the brewed IPA. He's like, this is my favorite brewed IPA, even though I don't really like brewed IPAs. I tried it and I was kind of right in the same wheelhouse as him. There was a Listerman beer that he wasn't a huge fan of, and neither was I. So our palates match up, 70, 80% of the time. This one, I don't know what Jeff thought about it fresh. I don't know what Jeff thought about it, even if he's drank this aged in the last, 6 months or whatever. But for me, it's not a bad beer. I'm not going to sit here and say this is a bad beer whatsoever. I'm actually enjoying what's in the glass. I think the mouthfeel is fantastic. I do like the subtleties. The flavors that are there, even though they're subtle, I do enjoy them. And this is one of the most fucking just insanely drinkable 13.1% beers I've ever had in my life. The problem is when I'm drinking 13.1% beer, I don't want it to exactly drink like a 6% beer flavor-wise. Hide the alcohol, sure. But like I want those big, intense, just punch you in the face, knock you over type of flavors. Not getting that here. Getting subtleties. And the spirit's not that big. So I'm kind of in a weird place here how I rate this. I think if I was rating to style and you're talking about a 13.1% Imperial Stout that is aged in single malted bourbon barrels, I'd probably give this a fucking 2.75, maybe a 3 out of 5, because it's really not a 13.1% barrel aged beer whatsoever. Like in the taste, it's like very, like I keep on saying subtle, but that's what it is. Very all the flavors are just very subtle, very minute, and just like this beer lacks in complexity in a lot of respects too. But as far as my personal enjoyment, which I do rate on, I can safely say between the mouthfeel and the flavors here, which I do enjoy, the scary drinkability from this beer, I'm going to give this a low 4 out of 5. Like, it's pretty high based on I don't say I'm kind of picking this apart and like giving it a negative review, because I'm not. I do enjoy this one. So like personal preference, low 4 out of 5. We'll go 3.95 out of 5. It's a good beer. I enjoy the flavors. I enjoy the mouthfeel. It's a solid beer, but it's 13.1%. It doesn't drink like it when it comes to the intensity of flavors, not getting a lot of the spirit, and it just it lets me down from that aspect. If this had more intensity to all those flavors and you kind of knew it was a bigger beer, this would be like 4.25, 4.5 all day, but it just doesn't. So I appreciate the chance to try it. So thank you very much, Jeff. If you've ever had this one, let me know what you think about it. Like I said, this is a 2017 vintage. I don't know if they've released it since then. But yeah, I'd be curious to know anybody else's thoughts on this one outside of Jeff and Sadiq, because I don't know if anyone else has had this one. Like I said, I know some of my friends on tap have, but I can't remember exactly who. But anyway, unfinished business from Perrin. I'm giving it a low 4 out of 5, 3.95 out of 5. Pretty damn good beer. Stylistically, kind of misses the mark quite a bit, actually, for me. So I appreciate Jeff sending this one to me. Appreciate you all stopping by for what I'm sure is going to be an extremely long beer review, because I can't stop flapping my gums. Anyway, appreciate everybody stopping by. To the next one. Cheers.